Of course, I mean, a week is a long time, as we mentioned on the Bugle recently, a week is a long time in politics. And what are we down now to 204 weeks? No, 206 weeks to go until hopefully there's at least a different Trump as president. But I mean, let's set achievable goals at this point. As I said, he will be immortal. So,
yeah. I have real issue with people saying that there's X number of weeks or days until the end of the Trump administration. What the f*** are you talking about? What on earth gives you the right to? He lost the last election and he tried to steal it. And now you're just going to assume that he's in office. He's ever going to. It's an infinite number of weeks before America has an election again. That's the best way of framing it.
Anyway, in the course of this week, not only has he declared trade war on America's two neighbours and various other parts of the world, but he's also politicised a huge tragedy, the plane crash in Washington DC. He managed to maintain. I was listening to the press conference. I was driving to my show the other day, Nish, and he managed to maintain a vague, if completely implausible, veneer of humanity and at least pretend dignity for I think it was about 38 seconds before he then politicised the raw and infinite grief of the bereaved with his trademark poison bomb of wild, groundless speculation, fevered blame flinging, his spoilt child giga ego, and of course an almost spiritual commitment to misanthropy and prejudice. And clearly, he's built his political career and success on proud, unashamed, and carefully nurtured putrescence of the soul. And any suffering and tragedy is a political opportunity. And he wasn't going to turn that down. He blamed, amongst other things, Biden, Obama, diversity, equity, and inclusion in general, people who are not intellectual geniuses like him, clearly, people with mental health issues, the disabled, people who are not white men. It was one of the most extraordinary and, if you're a fan of one or both of Dignity and Democracy, harrowing press conferences I've ever listened to.
It's history's greatest example of a diversity hire has continued to wage what I can only describe as an astonishingly self-defeating war against diversity initiatives. Trump may as well wage war on spray tan and outright corruption. There's never been a clearer example of somebody essentially rising to the top of several different industries off pure, unfettered diversity quota initiatives. Like it's quite astonishing. He said that the terrible crash was the result of Obama pushing mediocre standards for air traffic controllers and saying that we have to have the smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters. Intellect, talent, the word talent. You have to be talented, naturally talented genius. You can't have regular people doing that job. How he didn't spontaneously combust in a cloud of pure hypocrisy is beyond anyone's powers of comprehension. Trump pushing meritocracy whilst being the president is incredible nonsense. Also, the other people that he's appointed, that he's been appointing this week or attempting to appoint this week, are not themselves adverts for his idea that he wants the most intelligent people to be put into positions of power. The recently confirmed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was confirmed despite allegations of excessive drinking and abuse of his second wife. And Hegseth vowed the era of DEI is gone at the Defense Department and we need the best and the brightest. What are you going to do? Fire yourself? It's unbelievable to me. J.D. Vance thanked Trump for his leadership and bringing a hire the best people approach. J.D. Vance looks like an 8-year-old boy that's drawn a beard on so he can see a nudie flick at the cinema. And he brings absolutely zero expertise or political acumen to his position as the person who will be president if nature actually takes its course on the current incumbent in that job. Trump talking about getting the best of the brightest. In the week, he is trying to appoint Robert Kennedy Jr. to be in charge of the Department for Health in America is unbelievable. Robert Kennedy, who himself is not an advert for health, given that he looks like overcooked steak, and also has a hostility to vaccines that is only matched with his enthusiasm for witch burning.
Well, look, Nish, as I may have said on the Bugle before, him being health secretary To me, I know he's got no medical background, but medical science is not the kind of thing you can just go out and learn, is it? You cannot just go and study medical science. It's a natural, innate quality. It spread also into the media, understandably. Fox News' Jesse Waters, Chris, I didn't even say anything there. You were just guessing what I was going to call him. We didn't actually I hadn't even started it. Anyway, it spread into Jesse Waters blaming transgender people, short people, not in those words. I mean, it's. I know it is foolish to expect any sense of dignity or fact to intrude on on American politics now. Disabilities rights groups issued a joint statement calling Trump's comments irresponsible, disparaging, and wrong, which is obviously true and valid, but also accusing Trump of saying irresponsible, disparaging, and wrong things is about as meaningful as criticising a whale for chowing down on some nice juicy plankton, or criticising an overfed puppy for crapping on the carpet and not writing a letter of apology. In mitigation, I do think we need to say this, Nish. Trump is the democratically elected leader of the USA, and he is simply giving America what they voted for. We often criticise politicians for not doing that, so it's only fair that we give Trump credit for not changing tack in office. America actively voted for someone whose immediate instincts in the aftermath of a tragedy would be to be irresponsible, disparaging, and wrong. They voted for an inhumane, psychotic narcissist. He has a sacred moral duty to continue to be one. And to be fair to the lad, he is an absolute natural. That is definitely something you can practice it, but I don't think you can learn it to the level. I mean, when something looks so easy and unforced, we also forget the thousands of hours of hard work and practice that have gone into it alongside the innate natural aptitude. I mean, to me, Trump is the Roger Federer of inhumane psychotic narcissism. So let's give him credit for that. But, he's giving America what they democratically chose.
In regards to his just outright war on the transgender community, I would like to, as I always try to do, take this opportunity to thank and congratulate so many members of our profession, Andy, that have done so much fantastic work using their enormous platforms to normalise hatred against a vulnerable minority group. I hope you all burn in hell. So as part of the sort of continued culture war, the White House has reinstated an order from Trump's first term establishing the 1776 Commission to promote patriotic education. So that's one of the key elements of that is playing down America's role in slavery and arguing that the civil rights movement infringed the lofty ideals espoused by the nation's founders. And it did, in some ways, contradict the values of the nation's founders, in that their values included being pro-slavery. And that is such an important factor to remember in all of this. All of these stupid things like the 1776 Commission are specifically named to take America back to a time before the abolition of slavery. It's such an important thing to continue. Some of the other things that they're suggesting are to the 1776 Commission is arguing that January the 6th should be made a national holiday in which people are encouraged to defecate on national monuments and government buildings. Martin Luther King Day is to be renamed Kid Rock Day to celebrate an actual American patriot for once, and Hamilton is to be replaced with an all-white cast so we can get some actual decent rappers. And the final project is a mass funding of a program to replace the Lincoln Memorial with a statue of John Wilkes Booth to celebrate a man who really knew, and this is a direct quote from the commission, how to own the libs.
Well, yes, it is. I mean, the latest in a barrage of horrendous malevolence-laced prejudice to be chundered from the presidential esophagus. I think the theory, Nish, that Trumpian America is pursuing is that if you make enough trans people and immigrants feel uncomfortable enough, then inevitably, at some point, a magic, giant, misanthropic rhinoceros will spontaneously appear in the heavens and start shitting gold bars directly through people's car windows. So I think that's the economic theory behind this, to boost the well-being of ordinary, hardworking Americans. I'm not an economist, so I don't know if it's going to work. But like I said, that's what America's voted for. We need to give it time. All in all, there was a really weird obsession with the coldness of the water of the Potomac River as well. I mean, it was so strange and unsettling in so many levels. But all in all, it was another impressive performance in Trump's efforts to colonize the top 1,000 least dignified public performances by an American president list. I think he's now knocked out of the top 500 that time that Franklin Pierce in 1854, I think it was, stripped down to some very threadbare fluorescent purple Speedos and twerked a disarmingly erotic sculpture of the late Martha Washington that he'd made himself out of his own earwax. But that's not even top 500 anymore.
Yeah. He's replaced a couple of those speeches Reagan made when he was severely addled with dementia and threatened to nuke Duran Duran.